What's happening, everybody? It is Sunday, February 11th, and it's a lovely day. 24 hours after a huge win. We're excited to talk about a lot of things today. But before I get started, I am here. I'm your host, Adi, and I'm joined by Kostas Lianos, regular co host of ours here. Costa, what's going on, buddy?
Hello, Ari. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's good to be back. Uh, Honestly, yes, big win, just like you said, but three really big games coming up. Loads to unpack. New manager. If you haven't done so already, guys, I had a very interesting discussion with Panos Kostopoulos, La Liga expert who has worked for Marca as well as La Liga in Spain. Gave me everything you need to know about Jose Luis Mendilibar. Do check it out. Loads to unpack, and we got our own exclusive info about Mendilibar's arrival at Olympiacos, don't we, Ari?
That's right. Yes, we do. We do indeed. And we're going to touch on all of that in just a second, everyone. But if you are just tuning in, a bunch of you, a few dozen of you have already joined us as it is. So please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you don't already. Every engagement helps us continue to grow the community. It grows every day. We're so proud of that. We're so proud of the reach that we continue to have. I brought up to you guys a couple shows ago that we had seen that we were near the 1 million impression mark on socials. And that's just one platform. And that's each platform, by the way. You know, each one of the platforms we're on, we're reaching almost 200,000 accounts now a month. A million different impressions, hundreds of thousands of people interacting with us, talking about Olympiacos, talking about Greek football. Sorry, I won't do that again. But it's just fantastic, and it's amazing for us. I mean, this project has grown to a point where we're considered Olympiacos media. Everybody that's in this project gets reached out to for things related to Olympiacos, whether it's about Heze for the Polish national team, you name it. It's just incredible stuff. And that's thanks to you guys. And these likes, these engagements you give us here, that's what creates this growth for us. So do that. Help us continue to grow and make this the best community that we can have it be. And then, of course, there's Patreon. Patreon, you can get extra episodes a month. There's also a lot of craziness that goes on in the Patreon chat, a lot of interesting discussions. I can always guarantee you that you will be entertained in that Patreon chat. So check it out. Visit us at patreon.com/gate7international. Some really good stuff there and some fun interviews. We actually have a really good segment this month. The interview this month is going to be about religion and football. We are going to be speaking to His Eminence Apostolos, the Bishop Metropolitan of New Jersey. So he governs a couple hundred churches in the United States, and we're going to be getting his insights. He's a sports fan, a Greek sports fan, so we're going to be getting some insights. So check that out. Visit our Patreon if you want to see that. Now, Kostas Lianos, as he told you already, did a very fun interview with Panos Kostopoulos, a writer. He's written for Marca. He's written, I think, for EuroLeague as well.
Mm-hmm.
Journalist in Spain, and he covers all things related to Spanish football. That interview, we are transcribing the subtitles right now. So it'll be available Spanish, Greek, French, everything. And it should be available later tonight. Check that out. Very nice insights, very interesting insights. Now, moving forward, let's talk briefly about the match yesterday, Costa. Demolition against OFI. The best performance in a single match that Olympiacos has had this season. The highest overall XG, the highest non-penalty open play XG as well. The first game this season, Costa, where we conceded not only 0 shots on target, but we did not concede a single big scoring chance. For those of you that may not know the XG terminology, but a big scoring chance, at least as far as Y Scout's concerned, is a scoring chance that is under 0.2 XG, which means it's basically under a 20% chance of it going in. That is what those are. Anything above 0.2 is considered a big scoring chance. We allowed none of that. Great performance. Ofie is shambolic. We all know it, but we've played shambolic teams before. Kifisha is not a good team, and we made them look very competitive against us. So to have this type of performance, we scored 4 goals in the Greek Super League for the first time since September, Costa. it's been that long since we've had a performance like this, a very clear victory. So enjoy it. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, even
Hey,
other Olympiacos fans. Enjoy it because you don't know what we're going to see moving forward. We'll talk more about the coach later. I have my tactic board set up if anybody has questions about some of the analysis that we did earlier a couple of days ago, but it was a great performance. And Costa, I want to know what you thought about it.
well, I mean, first off, I would like to start with something that I don't think a lot of fans will really appreciate it, but well, you know what? Yes, Carlos Carvalhal, it didn't work out at Olympiacos, uh, and you know what? I wish him the best in his future endeavors. I mean, based on the people I've spoken who know Carvalhal, he's a really nice guy. He's a good dude. He's decent. He really wanted to help. Uh, and I always appreciate kindness and, a good character. So good luck in his future endeavors. But I do think the divorce with Olympiacos was absolutely the right decision for both sides. Yeah, when it comes to the game, I agree with everything you just said, Ari. I mean, I am concerned about the fact that 3 out of the 4 goals we scored came out of defensive mistakes committed by OFI. So it wasn't like Olympiacos opened them up with some amazing tactics or really good attacks. What that game makes me think is, you know what, just stick with what works till the rest of the season. I think that's what didn't work with Carvalhal. He came in, took over from Diego Martinez, who, in my opinion, never deserved the sack, and it just showed today because. Yesterday, because what Sotiris Silaidopoulos basically did is he started Podens, he started Fortunis, they did their thing, and we got the 3 points. Carvalhal wasn't a big Podens or Fortunis fan. So I think that's what really, really cost us during the Carvalhal era. And that's what I think Mendilibar needs to learn from. He needs to just use the players that work for us. And if anything, Ari, I feel like what we saw in this game it made me feel like Diego Martinez, at the end of the day, he just needed a really good center back and a really good a number 6. I get Chiquinho is not a number 6, but he is a very good midfielder. He did look a bit, and do correct me if I'm wrong, Adi, but he did look a bit like a box to box kind of midfielder. So he could kind of fill in that Yanem Villa kind of role. So if Diego Martinez had a Carmo guy, if Diego Martinez did have a Chiquinho kind of guy, a Miguel Horta kind of guy, I mean, Ari, you rate him very highly, and I always trust your opinion. I feel like Olympiacos could have been even better than the first round if Martinez was still there with his own players, with his own mentality, with his own preseason. Now, the baton goes to Jose Luis Mendilibar. Ari, what do you think about what you saw from the match? I mean, tactic-wise, Mendilibar, obviously Mendilibar is set for a baptism by fire. Do you expect a lot of different things against Ferencvaros on Thursday? Do you think Mendilibar has any lessons to learn from this? What's your take moving forward?
There's a couple of things. I mean, first of all, it's not like the game the match against OFI was a masterclass in terms of tactics, right?
Mm-mm.
It wasn't. It was exactly what it should be for Olympiacos against a team like OFI, a smaller club, a club that is having its own problems right now ever since they fired Dabrauskas. And it's not a game we need to overthink. We are better than them. We have better quality than them. And part of the problem is when you bring in these very pessimistic tacticians like Carvajal, right? They tend to overthink themselves in so many of these scenarios. And in this case, it was very simple. Silaidopoulos did the exact thing. And Silaidopoulos, I mean, he literally took the best. He just took our players and he said, look, he didn't have enough time to really work on things with them. When you're going towards a season, right? If you look at what happens at training, it's not hardcore fitness. It's you're running through things to prepare for the match. And he probably had just enough time to say, look, guys, this is the formation. These are your positions. Do your thing. I'm looking for this type of run. I'm looking for this type of run. And that's about it. And It works when you're playing against sides like these, like the Offies of the world, even the Lamias of the world, despite the fact that Lamia is playing pretty well, the Kifisias of the world, right? You don't need to overthink it. Play your game, and the win will come. And that's what happened. He didn't isolate his two best players. Because remember, guys, Fortunis and Podence, before Carvajal came, contributed to over 50% of our goal contributions. Just those two. But yet Carvajal iced them out. There's two realities here, Costa. There's two realities of this season, okay? One, at the stage we're in now, after the transfer window is over, that is, you have no offensive power without the likes of Fortunis and Podence. Whether it's a good or bad thing, it does not matter. But you cannot afford to move on from them. We do not have the assets to move on from them. If Gelson were healthy, okay, he's a mainstay option. We don't know what we're going to get out of Cabral yet. We don't know how healthy they're going to be, right? So as it stands right now, you don't really have other options to move on from them. So that's the first reality. The second reality is they suck if you're looking for somebody to help you out in a defensive scheme. That's just how it is. It sucks. I wish they could do better. But right now they're not the best, and they're not what most Portuguese coaches or coaches that rely on a defensive scheme will want. That's the second reality. So you have to find balance. You have to figure out how you're going to make this work. So for me, what I hope Mendilibar learned, or Mendilibar, sorry, I heard what Banos told you. What I hope he gets from this is this team is not like any team you've coached before. We're not the underdog here. We're not the underdog ever in Greece. We are the top dog. We are the one that is expected to win. We are expected to play a certain way. Now, it is a little bit of a disaster here. Sure, things haven't gone well. But if you want to be in and out as fast as Carvajal, go ahead and play anti-football and not get results on top of it. That'll see you the way out. If he look, there's aspects of his play that I think we can bring here and it won't piss the fans off. But if he comes here and he's going to just long ball everything and play like that against every team, and he's going to play hyper defensive, people are going to be pissed off. But I hope that when he saw that, he said, look, I can do things I couldn't do in Spain with the clubs I've coached. I'm going to do that. Now, in the derby, sure, if he's going to take it more defensive, I don't think anyone's going to be upset with him as long as we're not impotent. But I'm hoping he learned exactly what he can do here, and we'll see how he approaches Ferencváros, because by all means, Ferencváros is, well, maybe in a normal Olympiacos they're well below our level, but they're nothing special. They're nothing super far above. They're right here. So let's see how he approaches it. If he's super timid, we have an idea of what he's going to do. I expect him to be timid, but that's just me.
I got a question for you, Adi. You hit the nail right in the head. You don't get anything defensively from Podence and Fortunis. So how about a 4-3-3 formation with Eze, Santiago Eze, that is, Chiquinho, and or Miguel Horta / Sotiris Alexandropoulos? How about that in midfield, behind Podence and Fortunis, and maybe El Kabi or Fran Navarro?
You know, Costa, I'm actually glad you brought that up. And if you want to get into that now, I can pull out one of the tactic boards to give you guys a little bit of kind of some insight with what I think will be the setup for Mendilibar. So anyway, let me pull this bad boy up. And you tell me if you can see my screen, first of all, because I forgot how to share this.
That's okay.
So if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but you tell me. Let's see.
Let's have a little look at comments while we're at it.
Can you see my screen here?
Yes, I can. There it is.
All right. So this is just, and I did this in
Could you zoom in a little bit? Could you, any chance you could make it? You could. Yeah, excellent, Adi, excellent.
So in the analysis that I did, that you guys can see on YouTube, it's the Mendilibar technical analysis. I expect him to still run a 4-2-3-1, but you're going to see here the way everything's set up. It's nothing crazy. It's the same as how Pedro Martins had us set up for the first 2 seasons. But what we're going to see in the press is the guys that are doing the most work when the press is happening is El Kabi, or whoever's playing as your striker, and whoever's playing as the number 10 here. In this system, and this is why in the report I said, I don't think I see either Fortunis or Podence playing behind the striker, because this guy's got to do a lot of work on the press. This is going to be Masuras. This isn't the most creative guy that sits here. On the press, this guy's moving around. The ones who probably do the least amount of work in the press, forget about whether they have to track back or not, are the wings. Because what's going to happen is when they're pressing, you have the striker that's going to be going to the ball, right? So he's going there. Masuras will either be covering a runner here or covering somebody in here. Your 2 mids, we'll say they're Heze and Siquinho. They're going to be hugging tightly whoever's going to be in this area looking for space or running into the spaces here. Now, they will hug them so tightly because that's what happened at Sevilla. That's what happened at Eibar. It's super consistent. Your wing backs are going to pinch forward, and then your center backs are going to be pretty tight together. They're not going to deviate too much. But your mids here are covering whoever's running in these spaces to choke out this possession. The sole purpose of these wingers isn't necessarily to press, it's to cover a passing lane. That's why I think when Mendilibar comes in, that we'll see Fortunis and Podence on the wings, because on the defensive side of things, it's the only place where I can see either one fitting in because they don't do the defensive work. Whether or not he uses them is a different story, but if I had to take a guess and put money on how they'd be used, this is it. I got into a discussion with our good friend Lakis Gavalas because he thought the best that he could only see either Podence or Fortunis kind of playing further up here. I just can't see it because of how much running has to be done here. So this is about what I expect it to be. And then, as we go on with the live show, I can bring up an example also when there's some pieces there. But I don't see exactly how Fortunis would fit in that role as a 10 or behind the ball. He's going to be playing again as a wing. Same thing with Podence.
Well, that's what Panos told me as well, which worried me a lot. Because like I said in the beginning of the show, guys, I believe that Olympiacos need to just rely on whatever and whoever works for the team, which is what Carlos Carvalhal did not during his sorry stint. I would like to hear from someone else on this as well, because we happen to have our very own Dimitris Quintsidis, who finally made it amid some technical difficulties with StreamYard. Dimitri, thank you so much for joining us. How would you like Jose Luis Mendilibar to approach his new challenge at Olympiacos, judging of what you saw from Aris's analytical analysis, for the lack of a better word, detailed analysis. That's a better expression.
First of all, can you all hear me clearly? Apologies for
you sound like you're talking from a cathedral.
Okay, so so much.
God,
so
is that you, God? God,
right. So many tech issues. StreamYard was not working. My mic is new, so I don't know if the volume's correct. Do I sound like I'm screaming, or can you hear me clearly? Everything fine?
You sound fine. You just literally sound like you're preaching in a cathedral. That's all.
Is that because my voice is a bit croaky?
No, it just literally sounds like it's not an echo, but like, when you hear the priest talk and when you're in one of those big cathedral and it carries, like that's what it sounds like. It sounds like your voice is carrying. It's hysterical.
Okay.
Hey, Dimitri, could you do me a favor? Could you say, Father, why have you forsaken me?
Father, why have you forsaken me? I mean,
you could have used more gusto there, man.
I'm going to listen to this back, and I'm going to be laughing my tits off. This is okay. I need to practice with this new mic. If I sound like a priest, then something's going wrong. I use the mid. We're a long way from October. Right. Let's actually get on Mendilibar. So,
Mendilibar.
Am I pronouncing it wrong? Is the accent?
Mendilibar.
Yeah, the accent's on the second one, Mendilibar. I did that too.
Okay, yeah. It's one of those where if you haven't heard it in its native language, you sort of make your own assumption. Okay,
Exactly.
so Dimitri, someone's asking for a hymn. I wish I was more religious and I need some. So first of all, I've always been someone who's never really jumped down managers' throats, and I've always been give them time, like especially with a team like Olympiacos that has so many issues lately. So I was never screaming for Carvajal to go. However, once now that he has gone and someone else has come in, I'm very glad, and I think this was the right decision. So it's one of those things that I will support the new manager for the whole time. Never call for someone to go unless it's ridiculously bad, especially if it's only been a couple of months. Regarding what I expect to see, the main thing that my analysis is never as good as Ari's, and I've complimented Ari many times on this because he goes in depth on so many levels. What I've realized is his style of play is a lot more defensive. Now, what that means is what I saw with Ari's analysis just now, is you were saying that this means players.
Did we lose Dimitri? I think we lost Dimitri. Costa, you're muted, by the way.
And I am muted. Yes, there's technical difficulties with StreamYard. Dimitri, maybe you're gonna wanna restart, or Oh, I think we have you back. I think he's
Am I
back.
back?
Yes, you are.
Right. Okay. This is going to be a long evening. Okay. Where was I? What I was saying is the bit from Aris's analysis that I caught at the end was the style of play that we're going to see means that players like Fortunis and Pedence, which are realistically more central players, well, especially with Fortunis more, that's where he plays better. It's going to cost us, and they're going to be playing more on the wing. And I'm one of those players that I'm one of those people that believes that if you have a great number 10, if you have a great second striker, and they're being wasted on the wing, then it's a waste. I never want to force anything and put a player on the pitch in their playing them out of position, no matter how good they are. It's like when Beckham first moved to Real Madrid and he had him playing right back behind Luis Figo. Yes, you want to fit all your best players in, but that could cause issues with the team. So Fortuni's playing on the wing is not his strongest position. I would rather not see him play there, not play at all, if it's for the benefit of the team. And you have someone, if the system doesn't accommodate him, then don't play him. And I'm only focusing on that bit because that's the only part of Alice's analysis I got. I didn't see the rest of it, unfortunately. I only caught the end with how the wingers would be positioned. So I'm sorry I can't go into more depth about the rest of it, but it's one of those that it's a catch-22 scenario. What's more important, basically?
Well, we do have an interesting question here for Ari it is from Yoros Mourzaros, but he also had that comment right there about Dimitris' resurrection from StreamYard. But Yoros also had another question as well towards Ari. I want to ask you a question. When Mendilibar was coaching one of the top teams in the second division in Spain, do you know if he was playing more attackingly or more or less the same defensive?
That's actually a really good question, because when he was coaching Eibar, he coached 250 matches of Eibar, and I think let me just pull it up real quick, because I think those were.
Was it Eibar definitely that he had in the second division? Because he's been through quite a few teams himself as well.
I thought it was. And then he took them to the Copa del Rey, to the last 16, and then he had gotten.
No, that was next season. Sorry.
So
sorry. I'll stop talking.
So here's where okay. It doesn't change. So here's what does change, right? So he did have more instances where he had like his team had more possession, more final third entries, more movement, but the underlying data, the underlying match tempos, like the underlying strategy was still the same. And this guy will tell you, as Costa in the interview with Bono, what Bono told him, he doesn't consider himself to be a tactician. He's a coach. He does things a certain way, and that's it. And you do see that. Whether it plays out into something that's more offensive or defense, I think it kind of has more to do with what players he has available, which will get it's that part that kind of gives me a little bit of hope that maybe we could see something a little bit more to what we want to see, something a little bit more offensive, right? Because we technically, as far as Greece is concerned, have better talent than everybody else. He'll make more use of them. But in the end, we still saw the long balls. We still saw very low average in match tempo, very low average points of possession, passes per possession, right? I told you guys the average when he was at Sevilla was 3. It was about 3. Some games were like low 4s, but that's it. That's not good. I mean, well, that's not good from like a possession sense. If you want to see pretty football, possession-based football. Diego Martinez, for us, against lower tier competition, was like near 6, above 5. In the bad matches, we were in the low 4s, maybe, but never 3, never below 3. So just bear that in mind. The pressing aspect of it also didn't change. Like this guy, like he believes in offense by defense. If that makes sense, right? And part of that is the reason why the average pass per possession is so low, because when you're pressing and defending all the time, you win the ball, you can spur a counter. There's only 1-2 per play, but from a restart, it's a long ball. And that part never changed. Whether or not he's moving the ball around more with different teams, or whether or not he's possessing more, getting more possession, that part is circumstantial. And it has more to do with with game flow. But his general thing is let's press the heck out of somebody. We're going to probably get more opportunities off of our defensive performance than we will offensively. Otherwise, it's long balls up. So that didn't change.
Can I just quickly ask on that bit? Because I was, when he first came in, I was reading on that, and I literally what you were just talking about. I was going to ask, do you think that's going to lead into the gegenpressing, which is basically what you touched upon? But basically, the game against OFI yesterday, at least 2 of the goals, maybe even 3 of them, to be fair, the first 3, I think, were counter-pressing goals. Especially the first one, Masouras, is literally just Masouras being a nuisance. And then I think either the second one or the third one, where we like stole it right outside the box. I think it came straight to Pedence and he just took it on. Basically, even though he wasn't in charge, that's basically what we're going to be seeing. Costa's laughing at me. I'm guessing I still sound like a priest, but
Hey! I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you.
But you know what I mean? That's something that we've already seen, even without him coming in. That's something that Olympiacos has. Olympiacos has the players for that, because we have fast players at the top, players with energy, players that can press like that, and even further back as well. Like in our midfield and in our defense, players like Alexandropoulos, Heze. Then you've got your wingers that are like energetic and fast. Your right and left back, Ortega and Rodinei. So I think it's something that plays into our strength, no?
It does. And if you guys remember from when Diego Martinez was there, especially in Europe, it wasn't like in the run of play we were making a lot of things happen. Against Freiburg in particular. Remember the first Freiburg match? We were capitalizing off their mistakes. It wasn't necessarily that we were masters in possession or build up. No, it was the same thing. So all of this can be channeled in a way that still makes us look like the Olympiacos we want to see. But here's where it gets dicey: is if we're only relying on the defensive aspect of it, right? And we're really poor in possession, or it starts getting very cagey or very negative, like it was with Carvajal. If that's happening, you're not getting results, that's a results-based a results-based style of football, then people will be pissed off, just like they were with Carvajal. So he's going to toe a line. And the most important aspect of this, which is what will make or break him, and it's where Carvajal failed and he needs to learn from, is in the misuse of Podence and Fortunis. So under Carvajal, both players, and we put the data up on social media, they played just over 2,000 minutes in the Super League, right? Podence and Fortunis together. They had one goal contribution between the two of them, one assist in Greece between the two of them in 2,000 minutes. Carvajal leaves, first game back, they each get a goal in under 180 minutes combined. So you can be a defensive coach, it's fine. And you can have that philosophy, especially in the press here, but you better make use of your best offensive assets. Otherwise, when the defensive aspect is not going well for you and you're playing a bottom tier team or a team that you're actually possessing against and you don't have a clue what's going on, what's the point? So the best thing he can do is, if he wants to keep that identity, if that's the identity he wants the team to have, he better figure out how to make use of his best offensive assets. And this is regardless of what, the discussions of whether or not we need to move on from them. The reality is, that's the best we've got. You either figure out how to use it or you don't. It's plain and simple. So if he can manage that and he can find a similar balance that Diego Martinez did, but better on the defensive side of things, we're fine. And the major difference, I'll tell you guys, and I said this in the scouting report as well, Diego Martinez's press, I saw people talking 4-4-2. It was actually a 4-2-4. And there's a lot of reasons for that, because the wingbacks used to get very far elevated, very far. And what would end up happening is you would have Jose and Madi sitting by themselves, anticipating and trying to cut down things that were getting through the first pressing line. What happened was Jose's form dropped. He was not doing the defensive things he should have been, or form, whatever, for everybody's form drops. We got exposed. And it happened constantly. The second there's dysfunction in the press, you have that. Now, the difference with Mendilibar is there's no 4-2-4. The wing gets tight, the shape is tight, everything is tighter. They'd rather force things out the wide areas than allow it to come deep. So we'll see what happens with that. But he's going to have to manage those things. But you're going to see some similarities between what we saw with Diego Martinez.
Well, the thing is, though, that Jose Luis Mendilibar is not really the kind of guy who thinks to himself, yeah, well, that didn't work, so I'm going to change my formation. He really sticks to his formations. He dies on the hill that he picks. So we have 3 huge matches, 2 with Ferencvaros in the Europa Conference League, starting this Thursday, second leg the coming Thursday. And then we have PAOK on Sunday, 3 huge matches. So if during those 3 matches we see things we don't like, I mean, no matter how many graphs Aris puts up on social media, no matter how much Labros is screaming on his microphone, no matter how much Dimitri sounds like God and Allah together, same thing, I know, he's not going to change anything. He's just going to keep up with what he's doing. I'm seeing a lot of questions here about Andre Horta, who wasn't even on the bench. Somebody asked if Horta, that's Yorgos actually, if Horta is out of the plans. Well, I'd be surprised because, correct me if I'm wrong, but Horta made the European list. So I'd be really shocked if he was sacked from the team, considering the reason Zelson didn't make the team was because he got injured, and he'll be out until before the playoffs. He's going to be lucky to make the Volos game, which is the last game before the end of the normal season. And we have a lot of questions about Silaidopoulos. Well, which, I would agree giving him, the baton and letting him go, even though right now, I mean, this team is a shambles, and it'd be a shame for him to go down with the ship as a flop, or what, a lot of those usual suspects on the board would consider him a flop. Personally, I want him to stay with the under-19s because he's doing a great job with them. He's on to something huge. He led them to the last 16 of the youth league. And I want to see how that goes. I want this team to go as far as they can. So, you know what? Yes, it's great to have the best in the in the senior team, but let's not forget how important development is for the youth sides as well. So, 100% keep him with the youth sides. It was great having him, even though it was for such a short amount of time. But yeah, absolutely somebody to seriously consider for the future. I'm not expecting the board to actually consider him for the future, judging from what we're seeing from the way they treat the B team so far. Ever since they were created in 2021, we've only seen one player coming from the B team, and that was Andreas Doi. Okay, let's say Kostas Zolakis, but Zolakis was already on the first team because he was in the Greek Cup final of 2020. He started that game and did really well. But yeah, in general, whatever Mendilibar decides to do with his team, he's going to stick with it until the end of the season.
Can I ask something, because that's something I was thinking of as well. The lack of plan B, is that something that worries you guys, especially considering?
What do you mean lack of plan B?
Well, lack of, if things don't go his way, he's still going to stick to his guns and not necessarily change, not change the system, not change the sort of counter-pressing ideology, the defensive ideology, and sort of take the front foot in other ways. Considering we're optimistic generally and happy with the fact that he's come in and replaced Calvayala, that's a fair assessment. Most people are happy with that appointment. Are you worried that his style of play and sort of stubbornness will mean that if things go badly in a game, in a big game, in a couple of big games, that it's a negative thing?
I'll answer that just by saying that he's just the stuff I saw. He's a much better game manager than Carvajal is. I saw a lot more substitutes that had positive impact than negative. Versus Carvajal, almost every substitute he made, I felt like was negative. Or even the positive change he would make would be enveloped in a change that made everything negative. So at least the stuff I saw, it indicated that he's a better game manager than Carvajal was. So better at reading the game, maybe identifying what profiles are needed at what time. So we'll see how that plays out for us and in much more high pressure situations. But that's what I saw on the tape. I mean, I knew from the footage when I watched Carvajal that his subs were usually not good. I saw that. And one thing I like to do towards the end when I'm like wrapping up my analysis is I like to cut footage. I take when substitutes are made from everybody, and I try to watch as much as I can after changes get made to see how shapes change and see what happens. And with Carvajal, it was always like immediately after he would make changes, and you would see it in the data too, everything dropped. That was a huge concern. But I didn't see that as much with Mendilibar. In fact, it usually either the tempo kind of stayed the same or things would turn the other way. Look what he did in Europe too. In Europe, that was one of the things he was known for, was making very nice impact substitutions, especially in the Europa League final against Roma. So his team were all over Mourinho's Roma.
But it still sticks to the same game plan necessarily. It might be a change of personnel, and it might be knowing who to play instead of someone else. But the system, the philosophy, not necessarily but the philosophy sort of stays the same.
Right. No, the philosophy in that respect doesn't change. The one thing,
it's not worrying, but it's a little bit like it's in the back of my mind, like, shit, if something's going wrong, you can't just keep changing personnel and hoping something sticks. You have to be a little bit flexible to actually change the way you're approaching the game, right?
You're right. And in that I would agree with you. There is a concern. The only thing I'll say that I'll continue to like rest my hat on is the fact that at the very least he can read a situation good enough to know what personnel are needed and when. And that's a hell of a lot better than we've had the last 2 months. So you're not wrong, but for me there's like a line in the sand that we can at least rest some laurels on, if that makes sense.
Well, before I express my concern in this, Dimitri, your favorite guy, is here. Dimitris is always spot on. What a guy, what a commentator. He's back. He's back. And I have a feeling this is not the last comment we're going to hear.
This
But
isn't
no,
my burner. Just putting out there. It's not my burner.
no, but Dimitris, your namesake, and I have a feeling your surnamesake as well, as he claims, he's right. I mean, you are absolutely spot on. But the thing is, my sources, which I completely trust them, the speculation is over. Jose Luis Mendilibar has signed a deal until the end of the season with the option to renew for a further year. So as it stands, he's here until the end of the season. It's a 1.5 million euro salary, but that is yearly net. That is annual net. So that means he's only going to get paid 1.5 million if he stays throughout the duration of the 2024-2025 campaign. He's going to make less if he leaves in June. But Panos Kostopoulos was not very confident that Mendilibar will be keen to stay for the upcoming season and build. I asked him, why do you think he's here then? He said, quite simply, Europe. He's here for the conference. He would not come in just to take on PAOK, Panathinaikos, and AEK, which both of you have raised some amazing points, very good points. But I'm going to tell you this. We've said it many times in this show. Almost half the team is out of contract in June. I just counted them down. And if no one renews, Olympiacos will be going to preseason with 19 players. And that includes Kostinia, who's not yet completely official. That includes no manager, no goalkeeper, no striker. This is the squad they're going with for a preseason. And I'm looking at this now. You have a manager who's coming in until the end of the season. So there's still no project at Olympiacos. I'm wondering, what does Paschalakis, Masouras, Fortounis think about all this? What does Vrusai think of this? What do the loanees think of this? I mean, what does Jolakis think of this? What's the reason for them right now to renew? What's the plan? What's the project? That's what really concerns me about Mendilibar. No matter what happens this season, it cannot get worse than fourth place, in my opinion. I doubt Panathinaikos / PAOK will miss out on the Greek Cup. But what next? You raise awesome points right there, but it doesn't look like Mendilibar will start something with Olympiacos. He's not here to become the next Valverde. He's not here to become the next Mitzel. He's not going to become the next Pedro Martins. So that's my concern right here with Mendilibar.
Yeah, but I mean, the optimist in me wants to disagree with you on that, Costa, because you never know. He might become the next Valverde. He might become the next Martins. Yes, he didn't have a club. He didn't stay in Sevilla for long. He's only here until the summer at the moment, as you said, but you never know what could happen, and just have faith that maybe it turns out into something brilliant. I still think Martins was not what we expected to turn out that well. Do you know what I mean? No one really expected it to be that good. And the first few seasons were really, really, really good. I remember thinking, wow, this might be the best I've seen in a very long time. So I'd say have some faith, but that's just me being really optimistic.
No, I understand that. And I do think it's extremely important for us as a podcast to avoid being too negative and too toxic. And I try to be a realist and not too negative at the same time. I really am trying. And I believe in this team. The thing is, Ari, you gave us a very good piece of information, very good news the other day. And that is that we seem to be doing really well in terms of FFP. And Ben De Rosa over here, he said if we go on a run in conference, maybe we can entice him to stay. But it doesn't really sound like it's on us, because Panos is adamant he wants to go back to Spain. And Basque managers are quite a special kind of bunch. They're very proud of what they do, and they do want to work in Spain. And he also said that the difference between the Spanish manager and the Portuguese manager, which is, our favorite flavor at Olympiacos, the Spanish manager wants more time. He can't just come in and turn you into a world beater. Whereas a Portuguese manager is much more up to that challenge to come on in and say, oh, hey, only got 6 months. Challenge accepted. And that's not the reason why Antonio Cordon and Diego Martinez didn't work, but that's one of the reasons. They couldn't just come in and say, hey, I'm going to show you in 6 months how good you can be under me, like Pedro Martins did. Even though we finished second, we got eliminated by Lamia. We could have done better with Dynamo Kiev in the Europa League. He showed something there. It was so obvious that something's cooking, which Diego Martinez didn't have enough time to show. So that's the difference between Spanish and Portuguese managers.
I agree.
But it just really feels like a fixer, guys. It just feels like another quick fix. And like, I'll be honest with you guys. Like, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. Football is a game of narratives. Yes, we destroyed OFI. We for the first time since the beginning of the season under Diego Martinez, we looked good finally. But we do have 3 very important games coming up, guys. And if we lose all 3 of them, it's going to be a completely different story here. And but if we do really well on them, it's going to be a completely different story as well. So let's see how Mendilibar does. I think he's a very good manager. I have a lot of faith in the fact that what he can do is he can impose a lot of discipline, but at the same time, here's what Panos told me. I asked him, how come he did so well at Sevilla despite all of their myriad of struggles? He said because he won over the players, but the way he does it is by communication. Panos doesn't think that Mendilibar speaks English. So, and he did say in the past, Mendilibar did say in the past, if I can't communicate with a player, he's out. I cannot work with him. He's out. So I'm just wondering, how is he going to communicate with the players when almost all of them are Portuguese right now? We got a bunch of Greeks in there, very few Spaniards. We got Kini, Bora, and Navarro, and that's it really. So how's the communication going to happen there? How is he going to communicate with the players? How is he going to motivate them? And that's the thing. Like, another thing about Mendilibar is that his success is based on the fact that he wins over the dressing room in Spain. All those Spanish players, they love him. They run through a brick wall for him. And we're talking here about bringing in the Costulas brothers, bringing in Papacanelos, bringing in Mousakitis, bringing in Koutsidis. How are they going to communicate with him if they can't speak Spanish? And he probably doesn't speak English. Maybe he has a great translator, like Rehagel had Topalidis. But I got to question those things. I have to inform you guys. I have faith in him. I believe that Mendilibar is pretty much the best we can do right now, all things considered. I would much rather we saved him for the summer, but right now it doesn't really seem like he's here to create something based on what I'm seeing. But maybe I'm wrong. So I have to point that out, guys.
Well, if it's any consolation, I guess we can just look, and I don't mean to compare him to there. I just mean that I'm just trying to open the door of possibility. Do we remember where Valverde began?
Yes.
So after he finished his career, right after he was a player, his first coaching job, I think it was actually for the Bilbao women. Before it was the Bilbao women, and then it might have been their youth team or their B team before he coached their senior team. And at that time, and I only remember this because I went down the rabbit hole with him, and I found like old articles complaining about some possession-based football, but with defense-first approach. I found articles complaining about that in the Spanish news, complaining that the Valverde that we know was pessimistic, possession-based pessimistic. Does that sound like him to you?
No,
not
at all.
No, I mean, and then he went on to coach before he came to Olympiacos. It was Espanyol,
yes, and he did really
so,
well there. He won the Europa League final.
That was it at the time, but it wasn't Europa League then. It was like
UEFA
Cup, the UEFA Cup.
UEFA Cup.
I think they lost to Sevilla.
Yes, they did.
Right, and then when he came to Olympiacos, it was just all offense, press, balls to the wall. And one of my favorite things I remember coming out of one of the training sessions is him. This might have been the second time he came, but yelling at the players saying, "Stop passing the ball backwards. The ball only goes forward. And if you lose the ball, you bust your ass to go get it back." So maybe, right? Because you're getting a coach here, Mendilibar, that's never had the opportunity to coach a team that has better talent or is expected to possess and do other things. Maybe, like Valverde, when he gets to the situation and in our competition we're a step above the rest, maybe he says, all right, I can have more fun. Let me open some things up. I'm not saying he will. I'm just pointing out that arguably the best coach to ever coach at Olympiacos, one that's more beloved than probably anybody else I can think of in the modern era, did not start out that way either. Now, Mendilibar's a lot older, and but the time of transition for Ernesto Valverde was different. He was younger and was a different time, but maybe he'll surprise us. I'm hoping. This is just hope. I have no data. There's nothing, no proof to support this. It's just a hope here. But if that makes it a little bit easier to digest.
It's what you said, Ari. If you've gone from coaching a low mid-table Spanish team where you have to play defensively to win certain games, to actually do well, because the number one issue is you're playing against teams that are theoretically better than you, to then go into coaching one of the biggest teams in a country where it's expected that they'll have possession and they'll score, you do have to change certain things. So I fully back you on this, because it's just not sustainable. Like if we played against OFI, I think they're second from bottom, right?
Yes. They are the worst offense in the league, period.
Yeah,
biggest underperformers.
You can't, I'm sorry, you just can't be on the back foot against a team like that. Because how do you put this nicely? They're too shit for them to have that control over you. Do you know what I mean? Like even if you gave it to them, the game would it just wouldn't be a game. Like the Olympiacos players are too good for that to happen. I'm not saying big European games or big derbies to necessarily be like that, but I'm talking like you just can't. And most of the games in Greece are like that. You're playing against lesser teams. So Valverde, out of necessity, had to do that. And I think Mendilibar might also have to do that, as we'll see. Just because of the opposition. Oh, solely because of the opposition.
And if he doesn't, he'll end up like Carvajal. Look, we played Yanina, the worst team in the league, and we won 3-1. But the score line at the end may fool you into what actually happened that game, because it became a very testy 2-1 for most of the match. After we went up 2-0, we made the subs that turned the whole game into a disaster. So yes, you're absolutely right, and that's in the end what undid Carvajal, because you can't defend to win against small teams. You have to show something else. You know what I mean? That you're just inviting disaster. When you play results-based football like this and it's very pessimistic, you're going to get, sure, you might beat better teams here and there, but you're also going to get your unexpected results, unexpected losses maybe against smaller teams. It's a double-edged sword. So I'm with you there 100%, and I hope he learns from it. So we'll see. I mean, we're going to find out a lot. We're not going to find out everything because it's going to be only one data point, but we're going to find out a lot in this game against Ferencváros. It's very big, right? Because, like I said before, Ferencváros is not an amazing team. In a normal case, they're a step or two below Olympiacos, but with this Olympiacos team, we're probably about net even the way things have gone. If he approaches this game super pessimistic, super negative, and we're playing them and we're like, who's this Ferencváros team is really not that good, but yet we're keeping them in it, that is a very good sign under pressure of how this coach will react. So we'll see. I'm expecting him to be pessimistic for the first game. I'm expecting him to be conservative. And in reality, he's got, 2-3 days to really get things moving with the players. We're not going to see the real impact of his system until at least a couple weeks down the road. But we're going to see how he reacts under pressure in this match. And it'll be very telling about what we could see later on.
I agree.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said in my preview, I did a little preview a while back ahead of the after the Ferencváros draw. Ferencváros didn't set the conference league alight. They did struggle a bit. They did struggle a bit with Tsukaritski, which we made a quick work out of. So yeah, I mean, it is baptism by fire. It is not the easiest of debuts. Surely he would have preferred something a lot smoother. Maybe even Offie would have been much better to have him in there. But it's like, I mean, do you remember, Ari, when Carvalhal took over? He took over. His debut was literally what was their name? Batskatopola. And you did say this is going to set the narrative. This is going to set the pace of what's to come. And we won 5-2. It was an amazing performance. Made everybody believe that, hey, maybe, we can pull this off. Maybe we could do something here. And then it was a downward spiral. Do you think that's going to be the case with Ferencvaros? So win or lose or draw with Ferencvaros, do you think that sets the tone with Mendilibar?
Of course. It's going to set a tone. It is going to set a tone, right? He starts early. There's going to be a much more positive atmosphere. But it's not enough just to beat Ferencvaros. He's got to beat them because we need to carry that momentum into the game against PAOK. Because this game against PAOK is huge. They just drew against AEK. So we just cut the deficit to 7 now instead of -9. We're now -7 from the top, which is really good. We really need, I'm not expecting anything against this PAOK game, but if we can keep it tight and we're away at Tumba, we can keep it tight and we can at least have a fighting chance and not get molested by this PAOK side again. Then he's showing everybody, okay, I've got something here. But if we look like we have no ideas and we get blasted in Tumba, another 3-0 or 4-0, or it was 4-2 technically, but 2 consolation goals really. If he can show us something and keep it in the mix away from home, huge. So it starts with setting the tone against Ferencvaros, and then it also becomes whatever it takes to try and get a result or to keep it interesting against PAOK. That is the biggest thing following that.
What do you think, Dimitri?
I agree. I'd actually forgotten that we scored 2 goals in that last PAOK game, the 4-2. I had genuinely forgotten. I thought it was 4-0. I've always been in the belief that European games are more important just because of our history. We have so many league titles, and because no one's actually expecting us to win the league this year because of how shit we've been. It's a real opportunity, the Ferencvaros games. But it's tricky for him to start like this. I think Adi's right. He's going to go really conservative. He's going to go really cautious. And I'm sort of worried he's going to give them an opportunity to sort of stay in games and sort of steal games, maybe steal a couple of results against us. That's my only worry, because they're really not anything special. I think both West Ham and Freiburg were better teams than them. So that's my worry, although I do think we're going to get past them and then see how it goes from there. PAOK, again, because of his style of play, I'm a little bit optimistic that it's not going to be a blowout. However, I don't think we're going to get a result, unfortunately. I think it's going to be one of those 1-0, 2-0 games where you've been tight, you've held on, but then something happens and it sort of breaks and they get a goal. I have a feeling it's going to be like that, but I don't think it's going to be a demolition. I don't think we're going to get destroyed just because of his style of play. He's going to make it very clear to the players, this is your number one priority. You got to stay compact. You got to stay organized. You got to make sure everything goes the way of the plan. So that's my prediction. For as far as I think Thursday's game will be something like a 1-1 draw. And then PAOK, as I said, 2-0, and then hopefully we get through in Greece.
In Hungary, that is.
In Hungary, yeah. So I think, So, sorry, I got the other way around. Yeah. So first one will be a draw in Greece, and the second one will be something like a 1-0 or a 2-1 away.
Huh.
And that's also because that's his first game. I don't think the fan situation has anything to do with it. It's just because he needs to get into the rhythm of the team and understand how everything works. It's just because it's his first game that I'm worried we're not going to be able to get the win. That's why.
Well, we didn't really discuss this, but Chiquinho was so good against Offi. Such a marvelous display in midfield, amazing runs, the passing game, tempo. Madihu, he was so good. Nobody really is thinking about Madi Camara right now. That is. How did we find Chiquinho, and could we trust him with being the sort of box-to-box midfielder that could help Santiago Eze as well to to play a little deeper with Chiquinho handling things a little more forward? Could Chiquinho have more of a Jan Villa kind of position? How do we see him going forward? I think he could help Eze concentrate on his defensive duties, and if we play with a 4-3-3 formation, he could help either Alexandropoulos or Horta moving forward as well. What do we think?
Absolutely. I mean, Chiquinho was fantastic. He was fantastic yesterday. I also, Costa, you and I talked about this briefly before we went live. Chiquinho also looked pretty good in his debut when he and Andre Horta both got minutes. They both looked good, and Chiquinho, he can do defensive work as well. Yeah, I mean, he really is. He really expresses those 8 qualities, right? Gets forward well with the ball. He can move it around. I mean, he had the highest touch count in the match yesterday. He completed, I think, 85 passes. He was responsible himself. He was responsible for almost 25% of our final third entries. That is absurd. A fourth of all of the balls that went into the final third were because of him, one way or another. That's crazy to think about. So one of the big things that we talk about when we look at who is our engine of possession, who is the cog that makes the engine of possession tick, right? With Jan Villa, he was also somebody that would get a lot of touches, move the ball around very well, help us progress the ball forward. Madi on his day could do the same thing, as getting forward, taking players on once or twice, didn't matter. And we saw that with Chiquinho also. He's got plenty of skill. And the defensive work rate was great too. He actually led us in interceptions against OFI. He beat out Santiago Heze, who's normally been the leader. He also was second only to Francisco Ortega in defensive dual wins, tied with Santiago Eze. So in a game, you see a guy here that he can kind of do a little bit of everything, which is what Madi did as well. Madi was known for being able to do great things with the ball, but also be able to work hard on the defensive side too. And he just fits right in like that. So now, off is shambolic. We know that. We understand that. We have to see more of it. But I did like what I saw. I loved what I saw from him. I loved the looks. I love the way he moves the ball. And I think regardless of who the coach is, you're going to see value in a player like him.
What do you think, Dimitri?
I agree completely with everything that Ari just said. I had no idea it was 1/4 of all basically opportunities like into their half that he created. When you watch the game on the highlights, you see how crucial he is. But I didn't realize it was to that extent. That's insane. I also didn't realize there was that many interceptions. Again, you see it, but you don't actually clock. It's one of those displays that you realize how important it was, but at the same time, you don't really realize the numbers until you see the numbers, if that makes sense. But I do have to echo your last point. It is OFI, right? They are really, really bad. One of my best friends is an OFI fan, and he is going through it. So we cannot get carried away and just assume he's going to be the savior to all of our problems, our messiah per se. Like we give it time, and at the same time, let's not jump on his throat if something goes wrong. But I do think he could complement Heze really well, which is what you said. It's because he offers both that attacking and defensive display and can complement Heze's game. So overall, very positive. You could see it that he was crucial, but at the same time, when you see the numbers, when you hear what Ali just said, you're like, holy shit. That's even more impressive. Like, crucial. So yeah, excited about it. But yeah, don't jump down his throat if something goes wrong all of a sudden, because it was Offie. Let's see on Thursday.
Absolutely. Shall we close things up with man of the match and coach's grade?
Absolutely. Guys, the poll is up. You have a couple, maybe another minute or two to get your votes in. The poll is up for man of the match, coach's grade. So cast your vote. You've got your options there. There's definitely some love going to Chiquinho right now as it is. And yeah, good stuff. Get your vote in and we'll continue there. Costa, did you want to get started?
Well, I mean, when it comes to my man of the match, it has to be Chiquinho. Amazing movement with the ball, the pace, the passing as well, the crosses. Inspired a lot of confidence in midfield, something I haven't seen since Jan and Villar left, really. Obviously, we got a number 6 and a number 8. Inspires me a lot in the sense that maybe we got a good box-to-box midfielder. Andre Horta could also do that as well. So it'd be very interesting to see those two starting together. I'm very excited to see what Mendilibar's first ever starting lineup will be. Has to be him. Really good performance. And I have a feeling as well, like I could also already see some chemistry with his teammates. Long road ahead, but it has to be Chiquinho for me.
Dimitri?
I agree that it's Chiquinho. However, I want to be a little bit different and a little bit controversial because I feel like everyone's going to say this. And I want to give a shout out to Masouras because that first goal was the most Masouras goal I might have ever seen in my life. This sort of goal where he does all the hard work and then at the end you're sort of expecting him to just maybe even like sort of miss it or like scruffily put it in. It was just that basically encapsulated everything that you expect from Yorgos Masouras, and not a lot of players in Greece or in our team do that. Play with that sort of like, I'm going to chase everything down, I'm going to be a dog about it. And also, according to SofaScore, he has a higher rating than Chiquinho. So I do think he deserves a shout out because everyone's going to go Chiquinho, and I think it's one of those where it's like easy. They don't need us to give our opinion and say why that it's Chiquinho. It was everyone sort of agreeing, and that's what the poll's saying. So I thought I'd take my time to give a shout out to Masouras. So I've always sort of had a soft spot for because of the style of play that he has.
What do you think, Gary?
Yeah, I love to give credit to midfielders. You guys know that. It's especially the deeper lying midfielders because I don't think they get enough credit. Now, unfortunately, this year it hasn't always been the case that they've done a lot or have been deserving of an award and never got it. I was a huge fan of Chiquinho yesterday. He definitely gets my man of the match vote for all the reasons that Dimitri said. I also agree with everything he brought up about Masouras. I would also like to bring up Daniel Podence, even though I don't think he's a shout necessarily for man of the match. He had a really good game yesterday too. I mean, just night and day compared to what we've seen from him over the course of the last couple months, especially since Carvajal took over. And there was, I think it was in the lead up to the El Kabi goal. Was he the one that played that ball to Masouras, or was that when Masouras got called offsides?
No. He was the moment where he had the ball smacked into his face, and Dimitris is absolutely right. Instead of going down and whining or whatever, he kept going. Yeah, that was Podence's incredible assist.
Right. So I mean, it was a lovely ball, and
the goal was really good.
Absolutely.
Too.
And yeah, so like he had a lovely ball there, and then even Costas Fortunis had like 3 really good looks to hit behind the line too. So like all of like our creative players, they looked creative yesterday. So shout outs to all of them, but Chiquinho does get the nod. And our looking at the center back pairings, they didn't look like they were really tested at all. So give a shout out to our defense. Both Carmo and Biancon, if they were really crappy center backs, maybe we concede one of those opportunities, but they didn't. So good on them. Everyone kind of played pretty well, really. And then my coach's grade is going to be an A+. Mm-hmm. Can you give anything else? I mean, the subs were good. You know, we put that graphic up of that super Olympiacos Chad. I put that up last night because like Siledopoulos was like, I'm just gonna do a good starting 11 and actually make good subs. A plus,
Absolutely.
man.
A plus for me
Siledopoulos,
as
the
well.
Chad. I love that guy. But yeah,
Amazing
that's
pressing as well. Very good, very good, very good pressing. And like I said, like he just stuck with what works for Olympiacos, which Olympiacos are in a position right now where you just stick with what works instead of
yeah.
trying to look smart. Crazy alchemies right there, and approaching the game so scared, thinking let's not lose, and you end up losing badly. So yeah, absolutely, A plus for Silaidopoulos. Hope to see him again.
I
100%.
fully agree, and he grabbed the opportunity with both hands. Basically, that could not have gone any better for him. Also, just to point out, great team to play against for him, right?
Yes.
That could not have been like if that was ever his moment. It was like God basically created it for it to be like that. It was just perfect circumstances.
He
So
also he gets it too. He gets
yeah,
he knows where he is. He gets it. Do you guys listen to the press the presser he gave after the match?
Mhm.
Lambro had sent the link and like he gets it,
yeah, the
He
group,
gets it. He
the
understands.
team put it
He
up.
knows where he is. He understands what he had to do and he gets it. Like it was really refreshing to listen to something like that. But
And
you know
yeah,
what?
that's
You know what the situation reminded me of, Costa, and Dimitri Costa, when you were bringing up like the situation with like the formations. It reminds me of an argument we had about like I think it was the third. It might have been the third season, right when we first started this show. Third season or fourth season, and I remember because Martins was doing all of these shape changes, right? 3-4-3, 4-3-3, 4-4-2, and we all sat there and we were like, guys, like, what are we doing? Just go back. Let's go back to basics. I remember we had a data analysis of the 4-2-3-1, and it was like, this has done the best for us, like the most wins, most opportunities, highest XG, most everything. Like, just go to the 4-2-3-1 and let's go back to basics. That's what this is making me think of right now. Like this, that whole situation. But anyway, it's yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. Too much overthinking.
Well, we're going to have to see how it goes now. I mean, it's going to be with Mendilibar going forward. Hopefully, no more horrible surprises. And the game with Ferencvaros, that's going to say a lot, guys.
Absolutely.
fingers crossed.
Well,
So,
I think that's everything we've got for today. Of course, did anybody have anything else before we go ahead and get moving?
Godspeed.
Godspeed, indeed. Oh, that reminds me, Costa. I do have actually two other things for everyone that's still here. That is one. We've been talking to you guys about merch for the last 2 weeks. I am just waiting right now for the samples to show up so we can take some pictures in person and have those ready, because that way you can see like what they actually look like. So once that comes in, the store is basically ready. It's live. It's working. Our Patreon members have already been able to see it. I believe a couple have made orders already, but it will be live very soon. Once we get the samples and we can get some nice pictures to be able to show you guys, give you a little real look of what it looks like, but it'll be up. We're really excited about that. And I don't remember what the second thing was.
I'm slightly offended I haven't been offered to model for it yet, but maybe that's the offer's in the post. Who knows?
Well, you moved back to the UK now. It's not as easy for me to get you something.
True. I know.
Too
But
bad.
yeah, it is.
Plus, I'm not so sure how your son and the Holy Ghost would feel about that.
Oh my God.
I mean, I'm sure the other thing that Ari wanted to mention is don't forget to like, subscribe,
Yes.
join the Patreon group. There's a lot of stuff coming. Like a lot of people are watching. It's very easy. Just click that button to like, guys. Doesn't cost you.
It's very true. There's a lot of
Follow us on
individuals
social.
and players that watch this show as well. Oh, I forgot to mention the chat voted for Chiquinho as the man of the match by a significant margin. He got 54% of the vote, and Masuras is on 24% as the runner-up. So
The
good on it,
Newton's
guys.
fan agrees.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. God, the level of blasphemy on the show, and we have the bishop coming on for one of the interviews. This is like,
Oh no!
The minute the show finishes, I'm gonna go watch it back to hear how bad my voice was, and then I need to tweet.
No, it's actually great. It's actually
This
great.
is the first thing
It's
I'm gonna
actually
do.
yeah, I
My
shared
mom's really
him.
religious, so I'm gonna make her watch it.
I
as
shared
well.
him the channel. I shared him the channel when I had dinner with him on Tuesday for HEPA reasons. So if I'm gonna be expecting a text now about the blasphemery. Anyway,
Oh my God.
guys, thank you all for tuning in. For those of you based in the US, it is Super Bowl Sunday, so that's kicking off, I think, in about an hour. So hope you guys enjoy that. Thank you all for tuning in. I believe we're going to have a pre-match, Costa, or post-match with Phil. Are we
We're
doing
gonna have
that
a
live?
pre-match with Phil Kitromilidis, La Liga expert, TV star, TV personality.
La Liga
Watch
TV.
the space,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, it's very exciting. So Costa will be talking to him. Phil has some really great insights. He's given us a lot of information every time we've brought in a new coach this year. He's had info on Diego Martinez.
We have
He
him
gave
on
us info
retainer
for
this
Cabo.
year.
Basically, yeah. This guy's we're importing coaches from Spain, and he's like, "What's happening?" But anyway, thank you everyone for listening.
Just a
this is
reminder.
8-7. Oh, go ahead.
Before we
Dimitri.
sign off, just a quick reminder: the game on Thursday is an early kickoff. It's not
12
a late
o'clock,
kickoff.
or-
In case anyone was assuming that it's the late kickoff, it's the early one. So 6:45 CET, if I'm not mistaken.
Got it. Yeah, so that's
5:45
like
here. Yeah.
12:45, basically like noon Eastern time. Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that out. Well, guys, once again, Gate 7 International, by the fans, for the fans. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you for that pre-match. Excited for the things to come. Cross your fingers, do your prayers. Let's hope that the end of the season closes strong for Olympiacos. See you guys.